Well, we just drove past the Ranger house and looking back that way right now, there's James Ridge, named for Dallas James. It's buried across the highway and up toward the elementary school. When you drive here, this old farm over here all belonged to the Huskies. Originally the old John Husky and his son Frederick E. Husky, who we'll talk about here in a minute. But one of my favorite little things I've talked about before for my little trivia. You drive up through here, just right here in the creek. It's what I call Turtle Rock. It looks like a big old snapping turtle. Probably should take a picture from back here at a better angle, but anyway. Everybody's always asking me, where's that Turtle Rock, Mike? There it is. I'll try here before it gets to the old ford in the river. There's some folks up there playing around, fishing and swimming a little bit. But right in there to our right, where Frederick Husky's house sit. Not much left of it, just a little mound of dirt where the chimney used to be. There's a wet branch growing out of here. Looks like I might have been tugging on it one time. There's a dugout sluice up the hill there in the gap. Right here, I just met some folks, and in fact they're from Knoxville, and just showing where the old ford used to go across the river at, over where John Husky, the old John Husky, married to Frederick Emmerich's granddaughter, and where Dan Husky and Alonzo Husky lived, and Alonzo Husky Cemetery's on up top of the hill over there. And of course, right over here, back up to the woods over there is another cemetery where Frederick Husky Cemetery is, up there right next to the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit sign. We'll drive up there in a second. Come about another quarter-mile down the road, past the Frederick Husky farm right here. And how you find this place is there's that one 20-mile-an-hour speed limit sign right there. It's actually the only speed limit sign in the Briar. And right up through here, you can see a manway trail. That's going to take us up to the Frederick E. Husky Cemetery, and it's going to take us in there and show you something else here in a minute. There's actually, of course, out to there is where Ted's Branch comes out, and it kind of gets swampy down here. It goes underneath the road out to the river. But I've written a blog about going up Ted's Branch before, and there's all the homesteads up that way. And over here, there's a couple pullover spots here to park. And along the river right here is actually some pretty nice swimming holes right here. And that's the reason and the old road actually is over right along the edge of the water. And you walk across about 50 yards back to there, you can kind of see the old road bed out there before you walk down to the water. Let's go up here, and this is all part of the Frederick E. Husky farm, and Ashley Husky, one of his boys, and we're pretty much straight across the river from the Alonzo Husky, Dan Husky place, and the Alonzo Husky Cemetery. So let's just walk up here and show you something. Now we're back in here about 100 yards, and you actually see the wet branch, the old Ted's Branch. I found some old deeds where it's called Tibbs Branch. So I think I'm not really sure which one's correct, if it's park name or whatever. The trail continues on up to there. It goes up to the cemetery, which we're not going to do today, but right here it's kind of worn now, so locals are hiking it a lot more. And people find out about it in the old days. It was kind of grown up, and just, especially when the leaves are full like this, it's really easy not to see Ashley Husky's place. But let's go on back in there just a little ways and make sure we don't step on those snakes and show you something. I've come up the trail just about another 50 yards or so, and you can see the branch, and here you can start telling there's actually an old road bed right along the top of the branch going up this gap up here in the ridge. And you can see part of the old stove laying right there, and that's because right here is one of the two standing chimneys in Big Greenbrier. This is a double fireplace, and this is where Ashley Husky lived, Frederick's boy. Of course, you got your Jedi powers working. You'll notice in the bank dugout right there, an old apple cellar or dry shed. And while we're here, let's just take a quick look at the spring house. And now you can tell where the creek is very well defined. And of course, dugout right down here. It's a little dark here, it's getting cloudy, might rain on us. Is the old spring house location. And there's 6 or 7 more home sites back up in there. But that's a fall time, winter time hike. We'd be asking for trouble going back up there today. And the cemetery's right up on that little knob right there. So in the old days when this was all cleaned out, cemetery above Frederick's house, where of course Frederick E. Husky is buried up there. The cemetery's named for him. And going back to 1830s now, in the 1850s time frame, when the people in here are first starting to move into some of these side creeks. Of course, back then this was still all part of Emmerich Cove. Well, let's go back to the road. I didn't really mean to get off trail too much today. Before I leave, I remember one time I came in here right before dark. I was hiking with ran into 3 or 4 ladies, and they asked me if I knew where these chimneys were at, and I met them up at the main bridge. I said, well, yeah, I know there's one pretty much right off the road. And so I came up here, and right before dark, and there's a guy laying there in a sleeping bag, and scared those ladies to death. But I seen this guy once before, and kind of knew he wasn't a threat or anything, but you know, he was kind of a wild-looking, long gray beard kind of guy from Alaska, I believe. I met him one time in Cosby. But this time was a little different. I noticed his backpack was moving. And so I went out and found out later on he was actually catching rattlesnakes, and that backpack was just full of rattlesnakes. He was underneath this chimney to catch some rattlesnakes when they came out after dark. And he was selling them to the Cherokees, or some to the preachers up in Kentucky and the old church snake handling folks. Anyway, he was one guy who knew how to live off of grubs and roots and stuff. He was definitely a wild mountain man. I've never seen him since. About 15 years ago. Well, it's starting to rain on us a little bit, but we're not going to let that stop us. I just drove past the 2 stop signs. Everybody stops too when they come into the Briar, and come across the bridge here and get this long straightaway stretch, and you can see where somebody's parked and hiking up this creek right here. And of course today that's called Big Rhododendron Creek, and in the old days it was called Big Laura. And back in there about 100 yards, that creek actually forks. A lot of people miss that. There's a right branch called Little Rhododendron, Little Laura, and there's home places back up in there. And just past the cars here, that big flat spot's where Winfield Lady lived, big house. And that house is still standing in Sevierville, across from Hardy's on Chapman Highway, up behind the military building, White House. She was married to my mother's aunt, my great aunt. And the funny story about up here at the stop signs one time, I came down here from hiking up in these woods, and a whole bunch of cars were lined up here, and ranger had everybody stopped, and turns out they had done a rescue on somebody kayaking in the river, had broke his shoulder, and they came to rescue him. And that time Pittman Center had a brand new fire truck sitting right there on top of that hill. Instead of coming down here and turning around this parking lot like the ambulance did before it left, the fire truck decided it was just going to back up down the hill and turn around where we were at a few minutes ago. And those young boys driving that brand new fire truck took it right off the back of the bank and right down into the river. I got a big crane in here later that day and pulled that big fire truck. Didn't hurt the guys. They actually jumped out when they realized their back wheels were going off the bank, and it sure did put some red paint on a few trees down through there, and the truck was standing pretty much straight up and down, rectangular, along the edge of the bank with just a few feet of it in the water. But anyway, that was, I ran home to get my camera to come back next morning and take pictures, and dang, if I hadn't already pulled that truck out of there, which was in a very tight spot in the road up there, just before you get to the first stop sign down the bank. If you ever happen to be walking through, you can kind of look down there and still see a little bit of red paint on the tree limbs. Of course, the river's really pretty right here. And of course, this road section right here, for my friends, of course, they won't be able to see it because it's all fogged in up there and cloudy from the rain, but you're up there hiking up the old Jeep road to the top of the Greenbrier Pinnacle, and you're sitting on the rocks up there looking back this way. This is a section of road you're looking straight down to, you notice the cars driving up through. And so when you're driving through here sometime, look up there at the Greenbrier Pinnacle and see those white rocks, and realized old Mike had been sitting on top of those rocks along with a whole lot of other people over the years. Must be a fire tower up on the second knob going up on the Greenbrier Pinnacle. Let's just continue our way, and oh yeah, there's an old part of an old car in the woods over there too that I found. And this is the land that belonged originally right through this creek here up that ridge where my friends Cheryl Whaley and Doris Nolan Parton. This is where Milton Whaley had his land grant before he left to go west.